So day two of my time with CERN Basher. I mean, CERN, I must like you a lot because I always have you for 2 days.
I don't think you have a choice, Randy. I come with so much material that I force you to keep me around a couple of days.
All right. Well, you teased this at the end of day one, but um, the Uncle Sam wants the consumer here. I'm assuming this would be the current administration wants the voter to just ignore the inflationary. What is that mammoth that's haunting her? Is that the interpretation?
It's the gorilla that is inflation, and I would make it a little
Oh,
bit
gorilla. Oh,
apolitical.
that's a gorilla. There you go. I see it
Yeah, I would make it a little bit apolitical and say that all administrations are guilty of this.
now.
I think we've had pretty good spending and, money supply growth from all different administrations. The issue is with politicians, not with any singular party, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If you wish, it's your show.
Yes. I'm trying not to offend anybody. I
Oh,
have,
yeah, I don't mind offending people. Trump had zero rate of inflation during his. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. So, in Canada, Air Canada has just offered a 42% raise to their pilots to avert a strike.
Yeah.
Now, the reason they did this, they said, is to catch up with where rates are in the US,
Right.
wages are in the US. Um, so we'll see. But yeah, there's still inflationary pressures here and there.
Well, Boeing, maybe you're going to show a slide on Boeing, but Boeing offered 30 and the union said it wasn't enough. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I don't have that because I knew that you would bring it up.
I see. Yeah.
I'm trying now to get ahead of you getting ahead of me. It's a very difficult thing to do because usually you're one slide ahead, even though you've never seen the slides before.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about consumer confidence.
Okay.
So we have this interesting divergence between the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index in orange, which is showing, reasonably high readings still, down
Yeah.
from the peak, versus the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index,
Yeah.
which showed a plummet back in June and a recovery a little bit to September. Any idea, Randy, on what's going on here?
Boy, it is. I mean, I've been reporting on this, but I'm glad you did this because we have seen this, taking place. The University of Michigan reporting when they do the detailed reporting almost sounds like the uh, Democratic Party, spewing nonsense. I'm sorry, did I say nonsense? Anyway, it almost sounds like they're trying to promote a particular party in the way that they're giving their information, whereas we don't have that from the other one. But yeah, I don't know whether there's any chicanery going on, but yeah, dramatic difference between the two polls.
Yeah, and you can see that they were pretty much in lockstep
Yeah,
up until I guess 2020, up until the pandemic.
yeah.
That maybe it was a bit of a dispersion earlier than that. Maybe 2017, 2018 started to see some differences. But
But
yeah, so
nothing.
this is interesting. So Jim Bianco, whose chart that was,
Okay.
said this. He says, since markets want to move on these reports, a quick TLDR about them. He says the conference board, which was the orange line, released its consumer confidence results yesterday. University of Michigan survey is out Friday, blue. The conference board, the orange line, is a mail-in survey of 3,000 households. They do not tell us how many they have to mail to get 3,000 returned.
Hmm.
Probably 30,000 in the mail to get
Hmm.
3,000 back, maybe even more. The University of Michigan conducts a phone survey of 600 respondents, so pretty small.
Yeah.
Michigan does not disclose its disconnect rate or the number of people who hang up. Political pollsters say their disconnect rate is about 95%.
Oh,
So to get 600 to answer your questions, you have to call about 12,000.
yeah.
So there might be a bit of a problem with the methodology of these surveys. Um, Jim goes on, he says, as noted on the chart, the Conference Board and the University of Michigan tracked each other with nearly 100% correlation between 92 and 2020 for 30 years. But like so many things in the post-COVID era, they have diverged. So this is another example of how things have changed. The Conference Board has been much more optimistic since 2020. It's not clear why this is the case. The Conference Board does not break down its results by political affiliation, which we know is the driving force behind these surveys. Confidence surveys, the world's most useless economic statistics. 13 years later, I have not found reasons to change this view. So interesting that they get reported, but maybe not very reliable anymore, even if they were in the past.
Yeah, and I find that there's a lot of interesting things digging in. So you got the headline number, but then the digging in,
Yeah,
there's usually way more stuff of interest, but certainly the markets are very interested in these two numbers.
that's right. Yeah, and whether they should be or not, I guess, who knows?
Yeah,
It's kind of one of those things. It's reported, and so therefore everybody pays attention to it. But if it wasn't reported, would any of us really care?
yeah.
Or would we even miss it?
Well, we have a whole new world now with automated phones, with the ability to, but will we, if we don't have humans making these phone calls, will the AIs be able to make them? And then now you could have that same survey, be talking about tens of thousands for almost free.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I can't tell you an automated call that I've taken in the last number of years.
But you won't be able to tell.
Oh, I see. If it's talking to, yeah, okay, that could be very convincing. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point. Yep. All right, another cartoon. A little boy is saying to his father, when I grow up, I'm going to be filthy rich. And his dad says, that's great. How do you plan to make all your money? And the boy says, easy. Get a job in Congress or the Fed. And insider information. Father doesn't look too happy about that.
Well, that is easy, getting a job in Congress or at the Fed.
This is when the father realizes all that money that he spent on private schools and everything has just
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
put to, yeah. Well, maybe he thinks it's a good investment ultimately, but yeah. All right, let's move on to something more serious.
Sure.
And this is something that you spoke with Nick about yesterday, I think it was, or maybe it was 2 days ago.
Okay.
Sorry, this week is kind of all the days
Yeah.
kind of blur together. But what's going on in China right now?
Yeah.
The 10-year bond in China has gone down significantly, down to about 2% as of the 24th. It's a couple days old. Don't know where it is right now. But they appear to be having a bit of a moment here,
Yes.
right? And again, thanks to Jim Bianco. So it's the first time on record the bond yield's been this low. They, in response, have cut banks' reserve requirement ratio, so made it a little bit easier for banks.
Right.
They cut, it says, outstanding mortgage rates. So I don't know if in China that if you have a mortgage, they can just lower the rate and give you some relief on the mortgage.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't happen in the US.
No.
Unless you have a variable rate mortgage or something, you might get some relief. But and they also cut, short-term rates. So the Chinese government appears to be throwing a few, arrows at the market, trying to rescue things.
Well, again, people that follow me regularly probably know this already, and maybe other people as well. But there's the consumer or the average citizen, middle class citizen in China, their retirement plan was second homes, rental properties, etc. This is where Chinese consumers are not necessarily invested in the market or in bonds. They did it in real estate, and the real estate collapse has just crushed them.
Yeah. Yeah, and to your point about the markets, they actually did also throw some money at the markets. allowing brokerage to tap funds to buy stocks.
Right.
Don't know what the amount is here.
500 billion won, I think.
Was it? Okay. And I
Don't
also
know.
see news out today that they have given or they're considering injecting up to 142 billion US dollars into the banks.
Okay, wow.
So this is beginning to look like their version of our financial crisis.
Right. Now,
Uh,
interestingly, the last stat I showed was that they are still projecting 4% growth in their economy. But it's one thing to have growth in your economy if your wealth is collapsing. So, so this seems to be more of a wealth collapse than a collapse in the actual production of goods.
yeah, well, if you wonder about the veracity of our economic numbers, the Chinese, Randy, can print whatever number they want to,
True.
right? And you'll have to believe it because what they say is true,
Right,
right? We don't have X in China.
right.
We don't have community notes to verify anything that the party says. So you can imagine the Chinese stocks haven't done particularly well,
Yeah.
although I think maybe in recent last couple of days, maybe bouncing back a bit. But the S&P over this time period from December 1st of 2022 is up almost 50%. And the Chinese stock market, depending on what measure you want to look at, is down 17 or 29%.
Yeah.
So a little bit of catching up to do. All right, another cartoon. Here's our national debt sailing along
Yeah.
and the call from the bridges. And this is the best case scenario. So everything is fine, Randy, until it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about this a little bit before. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of talking about things before, you and Nick had a good discussion about recession,
Yep.
right? And he was kind of calling you out on a little bit, but I would say, Randy, you if you're looking at this indicator, which has been 100% accurate about calling recessions,
Yes.
then you're right. This is the SOM rule recession indicator. Looks
Hmm.
at the percentage change in 3 months average of the unemployment rate over the lowest point in the past year.
Hmm.
And when you get a spike, it's predicted every single recession since 1950.
Yes.
Okay. So this is calling for a recession.
Hmm.
On the other hand, we have another indicator that's 100% right. That's this one. Whenever the S&P hits a new all-time high, right, the
Yes.
table shows that the S&P peaks before a recession, not after. So
Ah,
if the SOM rule is saying we're in a recession, the S&P just hit a peak this past week,
right. And
and maybe
today,
even
well,
again today. Yeah. So this indicator has also been 100% right.
100% right.
So which one's gonna win
Yeah.
out?
Yeah. Well, it gives some credence to everybody's not everybody's, but so many people's conversation that this is a, a bifurcated economy in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So there's all these industries that are in recession. Clearly, it's not even like we don't have to know the SOM rule to
Right.
know that freight is in a recession and has been.
Yep.
On the other side of the coin, high tech is clearly not in a recession. Uh, 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 Healthcare, definitely not in a recession. Travel and services, not in a recession. And then we've got the under $100,000 group, which is having trouble paying their bills and they're going into credit debt. And we have the over $100,000 group, which is still partying. So we have a couple of these major splits between the economy.
No, you're absolutely right. And we're on the cusp again of some pretty massive changes in our economy that may create further separation and division and all that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to become even more confusing for the Fed to know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Here is our friend Uncle Sam again. Debt. I owe you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Sorry, it's depressing, isn't it?
Very depressing.
Yeah. All right. we'll close off on a strong note. This was thanks to our friend AJ. He made a handy little cheat sheet for those that want to understand company income statements and how things kind of flow through.
Yeah.
This may not be the most exciting chart in the world, but if you do want to sort of understand the components of what companies report, this is kind of a nice little table here, a nice little chart. So if we start on the right, if you look at revenue, also known as sales, also known as net sales or top line, start with $1,000.
You
You
said on
take
the right.
out,
You said on the right, and I know
sorry,
you
the
meant,
left.
yes, it was your other left.
Yes, sorry, the screen's behind me. Yeah. No, thank you for that correction. On the left, $100 of revenue.
$100. Sir,
Thousands. Sorry, I
sir,
can't get it right.
you must be
One,
thinking about getting out there and testing out that new FSD.
I am. I'm trying to rush through this and I'm just botching it up completely. $1,000 of revenue.
There you go.
All right. From there, you take out the cost of goods sold.
Mm-hmm.
So how much does it cost to make the what you're selling, right? The product that you're selling. If you're thinking about a car, it's all the stuff that goes in the car, the manufacturing cost of the car.
Right.
Okay, Jeff Lutz, one of his favorite words is COGS.
Right.
That's what he's talking about, the cost to make it. So maybe that's 600. So you're left with 400. You can see these numbers, these bars aren't to scale here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the 600 is smaller than the 400. So I would take AJ to task on that, but that's okay. AJ, that's okay. So that leaves you with 400 of gross profit. But gross profit is not really a profit. We're just beginning to take the expenses off. Then you have to take off what's known as operating expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes R&D, research and development. It includes any expenses relating to selling and marketing. And then just general and administrative expenses of just running the company, the accounting department, HR, legal, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That has to come off. So then you get to what's called operating profit. And now we're down to 150. And then you have non-operating expenses or potentially income. Usually for most companies, this is pretty small. It might be income or loss from, joint ventures, things that are accounted for as equity entities. Could be finance income, could be interest earned or interest on cash, a big cash balance. Mm-hmm. Or it could be an interest expense if you have a lot of debt.
Right.
Okay, those are non-operating expenses. So now we're down to $100 of profit before tax. See, Randy, I was right when I said 100.
You were just in the wrong column. Yeah.
Just in the wrong column. And then the government takes its share and he's showing 30% tax. Tax rates for companies can be very different depending on the jurisdictions they operate in.
Sure.
And the clever accounting that they use to shift profits around the world. So anyway, 30% for tax leaves you $70 net income or bottom line. Okay. And then you might have, he's saying deduct share of income of consolidated entities owned to others. We'll skip that. It's a minor thing usually for most companies. There might be some money that's going to some other folks. And then you get shareholders net income of $60. Mm-hmm. You take that, we go up to the top, and you divide them by the number of shares outstanding, of which there are actually some different measures, but AJ skips that here. But that gets you to the earnings per share. Mm-hmm. And then you multiply by some kind of PE multiple to get to the share price. Right? Mm-hmm. And then you multiply, he's saying, by the number of shares outstanding, same number we used before, to get to the market cap of the company, the market valuation of the company. So I thought that was a nice little summary of the financial statement for a company.
Yep, looks good.
So when you hear us throw out these words, you've got a handy dandy little reference chart to look at.
Indeed. Yeah, I liked it the other day. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. By the way, AJ did give us approval to use his subscription content on your show.
Right.
We got special dispensation for that. Normally he charges massive, massive royalties, but he's making the exception for us.
Well, he is trying to build up his subscriptions. So, and I think, you can pay as little as $5, I think, a month
Yeah.
to subscribe. So you could go on X and subscribe to AJ. Do you have subscribers yet on X?
I haven't been approved.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm
I've
waiting.
asked for a subscription, and even when it is approved, Randy, my subscription cost is $1 a month.
$1 a month. Okay.
Yeah. My research is for the people, Randy.
Yes. Yes.
It's not a money-making endeavor for me, and nor is AJ's, frankly. His at $5 a month, he's simply trying to generate enough cash to buy a Bloomberg terminal,
Right.
get Bloomberg service,
Right.
so that he can further improve his research. So the community actually would benefit from that. So I encourage folks, if you're inclined, to help him out. AJ does some really good work.
Yeah, and part of the reason that I'm asking people to do Patreon is because I want to get behind more paywalls. I'm not going to buy a Bloomberg terminal, but I already do spend a fairly serious amount of money to get behind paywalls every month, and I'd like to get behind a few more. And that's one of the reasons why I actually had a couple of people that came in with very substantial monthlies with the $50 a month on Patreon, which really, really helped me to be able to get behind more paywalls. So yeah, and then people should also consider the possibility that if they need a little help thinking through their investments, they could give you a buzz. Is that true?
That is true. That is what I do for a living. Yes. I decided that for my subscription on X, that was maybe going to be a beer fund.
A beer fund. There you go.
And that's why it was only $1 a month, because I can only drink so much beer. And actually, I haven't had a beer in probably a month.
Oh,
There would probably be a surplus in that fund if subscriptions were approved and if anybody did subscribe. But yes.
So, all right. So I know you don't do short-term stock predictions and that kind of thing, but I also know that you are a very serious analyst. And one of the things that people have been talking about the last little bit, and that I spent some time talking about yesterday on my channel, or this could be Saturday, so maybe it may have been several days ago. But anyway, we had this. My goal was to get to 265 by 10:10. And then all of a sudden we were sitting at 261 on Thursday morning. And I said in my show that morning, goodness gracious me, we are almost at 265. We've run up too quickly. And so does that mean we're going to burst through and keep going? Or does it mean that we're going to have to pull back because we're out over our skis? Well, while the show was going, we pulled back about 7 or 8. Actually, as we're recording this, we're still on Thursday. It'd be interesting to see where are we now. And we're still down at 254. So we've dropped about $7 from the high in the opening after the opening bell. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking at all about the run up to the 1010? Do you think that as Larry Goldberg claims that when it's a reveal and it's successful, that we can actually keep going up after? Or do you agree with so many others who feel like it always goes down the day after? Or do you have any feelings about any of this at all?
It's not something I give a lot of thought to.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I'm much more focused in owning stocks for a long period of time, and I'm not particularly concerned about the short term. Other than that, when they dip down, it's usually a nice opportunity to average down for clients.
Sure.
And that's my focus on that. I've been in this business long enough now, Randy, about 30 years, to know that stocks can do anything, absolutely anything in the short term.
Right.
And they're totally divorced from any kind of fundamental reality in the short term. Right? I've seen that too many times now.
Too many times, yeah.
Right? So if it's entirely possible that Tesla does phenomenally well up until the event and even after, and it's entirely well that it does poorly. And that to me means nothing in terms of, the company's ultimate value. it's fun to talk about. It's fun to try to trade for some people. Other people will lose their shirts trying to do that.
Not
Believe
this.
me, it's well, hopefully not nice shirts like that. Yeah, that is a nice one. I like that one. So I don't to answer your question, I don't have any really helpful or
Right.
considered thoughts on the near-term stock price.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just look at it as a reflection of the market's mood about a particular company.
Mhm, mhm.
And if I'm looking to buy the stock, I use that to my advantage if it goes down. And if I'm looking to sell a stock, I use it to my advantage if it's going up.
Right.
Right.
All right. Well, then on a different subject, you've given some of your interpretations on Thursday as to what you other people think might happen on 1010. You've heard a lot of my analysis of what I think is going to happen on 1010 or needs to happen on 1010, but I'm not sure that we've actually heard your opinion of what needs to or should or could or is likely to, I don't know, whatever you can, I'll just let you talk.
Well, personally, I would like for them to divulge every bit of information that was on that page that I presented yesterday, I guess it was now,
The entire list.
the entire list. I'd like them to spend 4 or 5 hours and go through everything. The realist in me, I think, realizes that it's mostly going to be about robotaxi. I do think there'll be one or two, maybe three other things thrown in there that could be kind of exciting. I kind of secretly hope for those people that have paid a lot of money up front for the Roadster that they finally get their vehicle that's finally coming out. Now, that means nothing for the company. Tesla's not really going to make any money from that.
Right.
Other than it would be cool to have the world's fastest or most powerful car or whatever it is.
Another
That's
Halo,
great. Sorry?
another Halo product.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't
Getting all
hurt.
these, we're going to have so many Halo products now, with people doing ASS in Costco parking lots. So I wonder if Costco is appreciating all the extra advertising that they're getting from the hundreds and hundreds of videos of people doing ASS in Costco parking lots.
Maybe, unless they start to realize that people are afraid to go to Costco anymore for all these driverless cars that seem to be roaming around. They may do what some people try to do with EVs in general, is ban them, right? That you can't park in this garage if you have an EV kind of thing.
Right.
They'll have
Yeah.
a separate part of the Costco lot just for EVs.
So we have ASS cars driving around here and there, and that's of course creating a halo. I'm
Yep.
thinking we've got Cybertrucks everywhere, creating a definite halo. We could have shortly. We could have some kind of a robo cab, a cyber cab out there that would definitely be, especially if it's very unique looking. I noticed that I've run into a couple, not run into, but I have passed a couple of the Waymos in Los Angeles, and they're certainly striking. So
Mhm.
the cyber cab will probably be striking as well. So we're going to have so many halos. We will have to decide, where to fit them all.
Yeah. Um, it seems to me that Tesla is very focused on this next phase of growth. And Elon, I think, has been hinting that this next phase of growth could be pretty large.
Like, you mean like opening a new book?
Well, yeah, writing new books, right? Um, and I think at this point, people have kind of started to tune out that rhetoric, right? That narrative,
Hmm.
and expectations are pretty low. So just back to your earlier question about, expectations for the event and how the stock might do afterwards.
Mhm.
It wouldn't surprise me, frankly, that if Elon talks about, not only the robotaxi, but the next phase of growth, just even in vehicles, even if we're not talking about Optimus, which I think
Mhm.
ultimately is the key for the company, but
Sure.
if we don't even go there, if they talk about, 50% growth rates again,
Yeah.
right, that's going to get a lot of people very excited
Yeah.
about the potential for the company.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how quickly they can kind of ramp up to that kind of growth. I defer to folks like Jeff Lutz for that kind of commentary. But Elon has mentioned it many times this year. Right. New models and growth in 2025,
2.7
26.
2.7 million in
Yeah.
2025. That's 2020. Yeah, 2025. Yeah.
Right.
And of course,
And
we're more.
even
Go ahead.
even at low margins, that's significant profit. And if you get any kind of margin improvement, then you get it's sort of a double effect there.
Mhm.
And then for the stock price, you'd probably get a triple or quadruple effect because the multiple would probably go up
Right.
as well. So, and then of course, profitability on Cybertruck, semi sales, that kind of thing, could be very helpful. Of course, energy will continue to do well, right? All these OEMs probably spending more on regulatory credits because they've scaled back their EV sales. They'll need to spend more on reg credits. That's 100% margin business. So there's a lot of good things to be excited about. So I'm not really particularly worried about how the stock will behave on October 11th.
Right.
Right.
Because
I'm not really that worried about it. I think there could be a number of people that have short-term trades on, like options trades,
Mhm.
that may look to close it out depending on whether or not their expectations were met.
Right.
So I expect some volatility, but how the stock behaves in the day or two or so after, to me, is just not that relevant.
Right. 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 Right.
It'll be fun to watch.
It will be.
Yeah.
It's going to be different for me if I'm on premises or not on premises, but off premises, but not at home with multiple screens to play with. How am I going to manage all that?
Well, you need some bots to hold the screens for you,
Right.
or to report directly to you, whisper in your ear and say, Randy, and after hours, the stock is doing this and that.
Well, but actually, this show. Did you notice it's going to start at 7?
Yeah.
So it'll be there will not be after hours trading going on. Well, I guess there is, but not the regular after hours trading that it has more activity. Yeah, so interesting. Well, CERN, as always, we learn, and then hopefully we actually incorporate some of our learning into our future execution.
The future is coming at us pretty fast. I know day to day, sometimes it doesn't seem like that's the case, but we're going to turn around in a year or two or three and probably not recognize the place
In some ways,
in some ways.
I think you're absolutely right. All right. Well, then, until next Thursday, it has been great having you on board. And thank you so much for showing up. And for all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Randy.